A shipment of 399 pump-action rifles has been intercepted at Nigerian's Tinkan Island port in Lagos, exposing another major attempt to move a large consignment of firearms into the country. The Nigerian Customs Service says an importer and a female clearing agent have been arrested in connection with the shipment, which was allegedly concealed inside a container in an attempt to evade detection. The seizure was announced on Monday by the Comptroller General of Customs, Bashir Adewale Adeniyi, during the formal handover of the firearms to the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons, NCCSALW. But this is not simply a story about 399 rifles. It is also a story about how the shipment was detected, how the weapons were hidden, and the growing efforts by Nigerian authorities to prevent firearms from entering the country through its ports. According to Adeniyi, the container arrived at the Tinkan Island port on July 8, 2026, aboard the vessel MV Velika. The container was flagged by the Custom Risk Management System for further inspection. That decision would eventually lead officers to a concealed weapons shipment. The firearms had reportedly been dismantled and packed in knockdown form. Instead of arriving as complete rifles, the components were allegedly separated and concealed inside the container. Custom officers conducted a physical examination and subsequently reassembled the recovered components. What emerged was a consignment containing 399 fully assembled Joseph pump-action rifles. But the rifles were not the only items recovered. Customs also discovered 535 assorted firearms components, including 89 frames, 18 charging handles, 57 trigger groups, and 25 locking lugs. The discovery immediately triggered a wider investigation into the shipments and the people responsible for bringing it into Nigeria. One suspect was arrested on July 31 at a bonded terminal while allegedly attempting to secure the release of the container. The importer and a female clearing agent were subsequently arrested. Both suspects have now been remanded by the Federal High Court in Lagos, with their arraignment scheduled for August 25th. That court process could reveal more details about where the weapons came from, who financed the shipments, where they were supposed to go, and whether more people were involved. The latest seizure also adds to a much larger firearms enforcement operation by the Nigerian Customs Service. Customs says the latest operation brings the number of suspects arrested over illegal arms importation to 11, while 21,399 firearms have so far been handed over to the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons. And there is another important detail. In July 2026, Customs handed over 55 Joseph Magnum Tomahawk shotguns, 844 assorted prohibited firearms, and 112,500 cartridges to the NCCSALW. Those weapons had been intercepted at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos and Onne Port in Rivers State in June 2024. 11 suspects connected to that seizure were also handed over for prosecution. They included Ali Samson Ufoma, Okechukwu Gabriel, Charles, and Ejiofor Jude Obu, alongside 8 others. The suspects are currently being held at a Nigerian Correctional Service facility, while their cases proceed before the Federal High Court in Abuja. For Customs, the latest Tinkan Island seizure highlights a crucial shift in how authorities are monitoring Nigerian ports. Adeniyi said the service cannot physically open every container entering the country.
The container was found because of a system, and that system exists because this administration, President of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, choose to invest in it. Under the Trade Modernization Project, we have replaced manual processes with Bodogu, which brings clearance, automated risk management, cargo tracking, and non-intrusive inspection into one single platform. What technology gives us is the ability to know which container to open. What we are looking at is the capability of doing precisely what it was built to do.
Instead, technology and risk profiling are being used to identify shipments that require closer inspection. He specifically pointed to the Custom Trade Modernization Project and the B. Odogu's platform, which brings together cargo clearance, automated risk management, cargo tracking, and non-intrusive inspection. In other words, the system is designed to identify suspicious cargo before it disappears into the wider supply chain. Adeniyi said that was precisely what happened with the container carrying the rifles. According to him, the investment in technology was not designed only to improve government revenue. It was also intended to strengthen national security. The custom boss warned that Nigerian ports and borders would not be allowed to become entry points for illegal firearms or other materials capable of threatening national security. He also sent a direct warning to customs officers. Any personnel found helping criminals move illicit arms, he said, would not receive protection from the service. The seized firearms have now been transferred to the NCCSALW. Receiving them, the Center's Director General, retired Deputy Inspector General of Police Kokomo Johnson, described illicit small arms and light weapons as major contributors to violent crimes across Nigeria. He linked illegal weapons to terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, insurgency, and other forms of violence. Johnson disclosed that more than 21,000 small arms and light weapons had been retrieved since the center was established. More than 19,000 of those weapons, he said, have already been destroyed. The newly seized rifles will now undergo a formal documentation process. Johnson said they will be catalogued, profiled, and properly documented to ensure accountability. Weapons considered serviceable and required for authorized security purposes would be accounted for, while illegal, obsolete, or unserviceable firearms would be destroyed in accordance with relevant laws and international standards. The NCCSALW also called for stronger cooperation between Nigerian security agencies. Johnson urged agencies to share actionable intelligence quickly and strengthen joint operations against arms trafficking. He also called for greater attention to civil disarmament and the voluntary surrender of illegal weapons. But the investigation into the 399 rifles is far from over. The central question remained unanswered. Where exactly did the rifles come from? Who ordered them? Who financed the shipments? Who was supposed to receive them? And were the two arrested suspects acting alone? Those questions are expected to form part of the ongoing investigation. The court proceedings scheduled for August 25th could provide further information about the alleged arms network behind the shipments. For now, what is clear is that a container carrying 399 Joseph pump-action rifles and 535 firearms components was stopped as one of Nigeria's busiest ports. The discovery has once again placed illegal arms trafficking under the spotlight and demonstrated the security significance of Nigeria's ports and borders. The authorities now have the task of tracing the entire chain behind the shipments, from its origin to its intended destination, and determining whether others were involved. Because behind those 399 rifles is a much bigger question: who were they meant for? For more news reports, stay with us on First Next News. I'm Chidera Isom. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next reports.